The need for greatness is always within us, something that drives us to do great things, achieve the unimaginable through effort and hardship. But sometimes it can lead to darker things like actions and impulses that consume us and eventually put us back in our place. Thus, nature does not take part in our plan, nor cares for it, forcing us to face its vast indifference as we strive to achieve our wildest dreams. On the hillside, as the first rays of the morning fade into a calm mist, blending with the relentless motion of the sea, the alchemist's villa stands silent. His name is not relevant, for he is not someone in particular, and in this story, his role becomes a representation of human nature, his name being discarded in the presence of time. This is the story of a man who craved everything and almost got away with it. The sea is eerily calm, and in the summertime, the wind brings with them fairly strange sounds, emanating from deep inside the water, cold and somehow rhythmic. Strange whispers strike the harmony of the place. It was the crown the man held that began to scream in a way, muffled by the sound of the ocean. Its story being told, or maybe just a warning, but it doesn't really matter as he is drawn into his own thoughts. Inside, his past year's work fills the room. Lots of boxes and big industrial crates, unusual objects and notes. The sunlight almost burns the maps, and while on the desk, these unusual gems stand out with an otherworldly glow, like something is inside them. In a half-full glass near them, a paper boat is trying to find its rhythm. Not really captive, but not quite free. Which brings us to the name of the story, carved in stone as a milestone in the man's progress of knowledge and greatness. A saga about nothing. That's what I would like the story to be named. Maybe a specific name is not needed, or even one that conveys perfectly the nature of the things we will see. Maybe in trying to do so, the story becomes the very thing it wishes to separate itself from. In the quest of liberation and not confiding to patterns and standards, a saga about nothing becomes the very thing it was never meant to be. A name, something that perfectly describes what the contents are about. It is about the greatness of creation and the need for it, knowledge and the power we as people have in creating worlds that organically morph and deceive our reality and sense of life. But all of these are nothing, because they too will fade into void, waiting once again to be found and created in a continuous loop of nothing and everything. Till your skriver, I steen deilitir ver tilment. Even written in stone, it will be forgotten. But we will find out more about this whole mechanism of creation later, because right now the floor creaks heavily, slow and steady. It's like the house is talking, but not in a haunting or frightful way, more of an unnatural feeling, like everything is alive. Dust particles dance in the sunlight and above the long wooden stairs as they almost form a particular shape, something like a raven bathing in the warm rays of the sun. But they quickly disappear, as they were never there. The tall figures towering over the hallway, headless as they are, guarding the villa and telling a forbidden tale of truth about the mansion's past. It's hard to see the table outside from here as the light bursts through the door and windows. Once he wished, and once he received the crown. He shook the forbidden tree and became dizzy from the dust of knowledge. And from the house of his soul, he built a cemetery of Eden, where the unseen bird awaits in ether his glorious end. Once he wished, and once he received the crown. He's the king now. He is the emperor of his own prison. With his hands he raised and opened the gates of the ether, and now he is waiting for his bird to come and show him the unseen. Once he wished, and once he received the crown. The garden is quiet. Rightly so, after such a great meal, or so we presume from the remains and leftovers on the table, the aftermath of a great meal. The man in his chair staring blankly at the motion of the sea with his back turned to the table, his right hand holding on tightly to the crown. Everything seems asleep, apart from the hangman. Steady and rhythmical moves complement his lack of head or manners. Some years ago, in the same garden, same table and chairs, but not so much food and grandeur, the hangman and the man stood in front of each other, negotiating the crown's deal. It seems simple enough, knowledge and power in exchange of nothing, but subjected to the destructiveness of human nature. As the crown falls down onto his head, a cloth ties itself around his neck, becoming his mask. As the ravens croak, the hangman kicks the chair, propelling the man to the sea below, as he snatches the crown midair. Once he wished, and once he received. Arbrind orlund, skval dir britu arstinu og. Blinded by our nature, we sink into the stars.